Good evening, everybody. Meeting again after a gap of 2 3 days in the philosophy session, and we are discussing regarding the Stuart Close philosophy, the chapter, the examination of the patient. And while learning this chapter, many aspects up till now we have learned from Close philosophy. He tried to explain each and every details what Hahnemann have explained in the sixth edition of Organ of Medicine, right from aphorism number 83 to 105. And whole session was dedicated to the case taking, specifically to the chronic case taking. And while discussing all those aspects, here the Stuart Close said that he has written the first chapter, earlier chapter, symptomatology, followed by this chapter. Because unless and until you know the symptomatology properly, it is not possible to get exactly which symptoms are important for you and which are not important from your point of view. And that's why one must know prior to the case taking what is important so that he can concentrate on those things. So this is first thing which he has explained, and thereafter he started explaining about the examination of the patient. And while discussing that in last lecture, we have discussed that Hahnemann have explained four important qualities of homeopathic physician in order to take a chronic case. There are four. The first one is fidelity in tracing the picture. First one is the freedom from prejudice. Second, sound senses. Third is attention in observing, and fourth is fidelity in tracing the picture of disease. And he is concentrating on the first point, and he has discussed many aspects that becoming a prejudice is a very difficult task because it happens. We have analytical mind given or gifted to us by God, because of which we start comparing. It is our focus. The intelligence is there, the understanding is there, the analytic mind is there, and that's why it becomes quite easy to compare and analyze. And that's why whenever we see a single case, we start analyzing that case with another case. And this is common thing. And that's why he says that it is very difficult. Who is not prejudiced? That is the question he has put. And thereafter, he has explained there are four worst enemies of the homeopathic physician: the laziness, the selfishness, the third one, that is the easy shortcomings. These are things which happens to be there. If you leave them, then it is possible to gain the success. To become an unprejudiced, it is a big task. One has to develop, one has to create. Then it is possible to get each and every case as a new case and look towards each and every case with the different aspect. And for that purpose, my method of looking toward the case is that ask the patient the details, forget the name of the disease, and just ask what is your problem and what are your modalities, what are your sensations, what are your concomitants, where is the location, all those things. Don't go on diagnosis. Go to the repertory, find it out those characteristics in the repertory so that you can find it out remedy for the patient. And then find it out what is the diagnosis. So best idea is first to find it out repertorial totality instead of finding it out the diagnosis, and then think about the diagnosis so that you will not get prejudiced very easily. So he was discussing that. We were on page number 174, last paragraph we'll start with. Nowhere will prejudice show more clearly than in the homeopathic examination of a patient. If one approaches a case prejudiced in favor of some pathological theory, his examination will insensibly but inevitably be limited by that theory. He will not get all the facts of the case, nor properly interpret those he does get. And without all the facts, he cannot study and treat the case correctly. So this is what happens when you start prejudicing. And once you become prejudiced, you go to the shortcomings. Immediately you go to the remedy instead of finding it out what is characteristic over there, how you can differentiate this case from the rest of the case. Instead of that, you think about, if just a thought comes that patient has diabetes, immediately our mind runs towards the cesium jam, the Sepelandra indica, uranium nitricum, all those things, the gymnemna, because this is the problem of prejudice. Once you become prejudiced, you go with that direction. And if you are not prejudiced, then automatically you will going to find it out remedy for the patient instead of remedy for his disease. And here, most important task of the homeopathic physician is to find it out a remedy for the patient, not for his disease. Basic thing, with prejudice, you find the remedy for disease. Without prejudice, you find the remedy for the patient. And then he says, prejudice and doubt may be overcome by reflection, study, self-discipline, and auto-suggestion. By cultivating the scientific spirit, by returning often to consideration of and reflection upon broad general principles underlying our art, with purpose of reforming methods, strengthening morals, and correcting faulty mental attitude, and a point of view, all looking toward the development of more practical, more accurate, more comprehensive technique. So how to overcome prejudiced mind or to become prejudiced? He says that there are certain facts. So prejudice and doubt may be overcome by reflection, study, self-discipline, and auto-suggestion. Reflection means what patient reflects, just looking towards it. What is presentation? What is reflected by the patient? Concentrate on it instead of naming the disease or finding it out what is the disease name. Just see what is the reflection comes out from the patient. Second is very important is the study. It never ends and will never end. These are two important things one must know if you want to become a homeopath and if you are a homeopath. The study never ends because you deal with the dynamic science and dynamics in the study of dynamics. It is unlimited study. It never ends. So hard study is very essential in order to tackle this prejudiced thing. Self-discipline. What is self-discipline? You put a certain discipline to yourself that you will not going to diagnose or you will not going to diagnose first. Make an habit that you will going to take each and every case, all the details without asking him what is your diagnosis. You will going to analyze, you will going to utilize the methods which are taught in while learning, the making the totality of the symptoms, then analyzing the totality, the evaluating the totality, then finding it out the repertorial totality and the PDF potential differential field, then repertorization, after repertorization going to the PDF and MM, and then coming to the conclusion of it. If you follow, make a discipline, I will not go without this method. I will follow this method forever. Make a discipline. Once you make it, then your failure rate comes down. Because of this method, you never become so easily prejudiced. So self-discipline and auto-suggestion. Auto-suggestion means you have to suggest yourself. You have to give suggestions. Yes, yes, you have to follow same method. You don't have to change your method. These are very essential things in our day-to-day practice. If you follow them, success will never go away. By cultivating the scientific spirit, cultivating scientific spirit means looking towards everything with the scientific aspect. Always there should be a question why in our mind. If the patient is having certain disorder, why? Why he is having such and such disorder? If the patient is reflecting certain symptoms, your mind should work. Why? If you have scientific mind, then you will going to find it out the answers of many questions. By returning often to a consideration of and reflection upon the broad general principles underlying our art, with the purpose of reforming methods, strengthening moral, and correcting faulty mental attitude. Our point of view, all looking towards the development of moral, practical, more accurate, and more comprehensive. So you should make a habit of doing all those things. Don't get, don't find it out shortcuts. Don't make anything which will create the problems so that you will definitely get a perfect method. Because of which it becomes quite easy to reach to the right remedy. These are most essential entity. These are things which will guide you to find it out the exact methods, reforming methods, then strengthening morale. Yes, it boosts your confidence. Yes, this method works. Third important thing, if your mental attitude already we have developed with the help of diagnostic point of view, you have to change. So our looking toward the patient or our attitude toward the patient gets changed if you make a scientific method in ourselves or if you put self-discipline, this happens. Because of which we get more practical, more accurate and comprehensive technique to reach to the simile. These are very essential entities. So make a habit, yes, what we want to be, whether we want to be come out of prejudiced mind, then utilize what Close says. I'm sure you are going to get benefited because of it. Beliefs and convictions may be strengthened and energy stimulated by reflecting upon the fact that our therapeutic method is efficient and successful because it is based upon immutable law. If you used to produce results day by day, we get more and more strength in ourselves. Our energy is getting stimulated, and because of which we understand that our therapeutic method is definitely efficient and successful because it is based upon a fixed principle. It is based upon seven cardinal principles. It is not a fluke. It is not that just the patients are getting results. Patients are getting results only because it is based upon specific scientific law, and that's why it works. We may mentally recall and restate the law and its corollaries and review the facts upon which it is based, and better yet, write a little essay on the subject. Recall to the mind or seek out illustration and examples of its truth and adequacy. Study the cases and cures reported in our literature by the masters. Think of the duty, loyalty to the principle, and consistency of practice. Think of success gained by the right methods and without compromise. To think success goes long way towards the realizing success. See how nice. See how nicely he has mentioned all those things. Very nice. He explains that if you want to really want success in your practice, yes, these are the methods which you have to follow. You have to follow all the homeopathic cardinal principles. You have to just not only just learn them, but you have to apply them. Then make a hard study. Read the literature written by old masters. Think of duty, loyalty to the principle, and consistency in practice. These are three important points if you want to build your practice. What is this? First is think of duty. Your duty should be very fixed. You should be there in your clinic when you have defined it. You should work very hard in order to find it out and loyalty to the principles. You should be fixed with your principles. And last, consistency in practice. Success is always directly proportional to the consistency. If you are consistent, you are going to get success. If you are not consistent, you are not going to get success. You have to work hard and hard. Then ratio is like this. Then you will never come down. But it takes a long time. It is not a easy task. It is not short-term gain. It is long-term gain. And long-term gain is always better. So think of success gained by the right methods and without compromise. Don't make a compromise. What he says is very important. Don't make a compromise. No compromise. Whatever you are following, whatever methods you are following, whatever principles you are following, go on using right methods and right principle. Finish. That's all. To think success goes a long way toward the realizing success, and this happened. And I'm damn sure about it because last 33 years, this is what is going on. The success is there. It is a straight line going up, 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 up. It is never ending. It never falls down. If you follow the methods, if you follow the principles, if you make a self-discipline, this is too important if you want to get a success in the practice. See how minor details the close is trying to explain. He is explaining how to build your practice. Our work as a physician involves the performance of number of related functions, all of which are subordinate to the main functions of healing the sick. What he says, our work as a physician involves the performance of number of related functions, all of which are subordinate to the main function of healing the sick. There are many things, many duties, many functions you have to perform, but out of which most important is first priority is always healing the sick. The thought should be there. That's why the first aphorism Hahnemann have written, the physician's high and only mission. He has utilized very right words for that. It should be a mission. And what is that mission? The physician's high and only mission is to restore the sick, to help, to cure, as it is the whole significance comes over there that your priority should be healing the sick. As specialists in the therapeutic medication, we examine for the symptoms upon which the choice of remedy depends. But as a physician, we also examine for the symptoms upon which the diagnosis and prognosis depend. Our aim is to make complete examination, including all necessary pathological investigation. Having all the facts in hand, we determine what features of the case are medical, what are surgical, what are psychological, and what are hygienic, what are sanitary. We keep all these departments distinct in our minds as bearing upon the case as a whole, realizing that each has its particular relation to and bearing upon all the others, and especially we we seek to realize this of the Department of Homeopathic Therapeutics, which for us is the most important of all, because we know it is useless to attempt to base the homeopathic prescription upon anything except the symptoms which belongs to the legitimate sphere. The generalizations of the diagnostician or pathologist, be they ever so correct, cannot serve as the basis of homeopathic prescription. See how nicely he has mentioned. What he has mentioned? He has mentioned one important thing that as a homeopath, there are two methods. First method is to find it out a totality of the symptoms, give importance to the symptomatology. The all the subjective symptoms are very important, which will guide you to find it out exactly the right remedy. But there is another method the physician used to do. There is a diagnostic totality. That diagnostic totality will guide you to find it out what is patient's disease. You can find it out prognosis upon it. You can find it out pathophysiology about it. But on the basis of that, you cannot come to the right conclusion. You cannot come to the right remedy. It is not at all possible. So, the therapeutic totality in homeopathy is completely different than the diagnostic totality of modern science. Two different methods. Their line of treatment depends upon the labeling the disease. For example, today I had a case. A patient of chronic appendicitis. He was 3, 4 times he was admitted for the appendicitis. And after 6 months, 4 days back, he had appendicitis attack, again treated with allopathy. And he never wanted to do an operation, which was suggested for him. So this patient came to me. So I took his whole case, nearly about 1.5 hours, everything, every details about him, and find it out a remedy. Basically, on the basis of name of appendicitis, I have never considered anything. On the basis of presentation, I have taken all things into consideration. I came to the conclusion of a remedy, sulfur to him. It is not on the basis of just naming appendicitis, not at all. Whole totality I have taken into consideration, every aspect, and then after repertorization, ultimately I came to the conclusion of sulfur. So remedy never based upon the appendicitis. If you go with the appendicitis therapeutics, you will never get directly a sulfur as a remedy. If you go with therapeutic approach, then you will get Aristanex, then you will get belladonna, all those remedies. But here we are not prescribing for appendicitis, we are prescribing for a patient who is suffering from appendicitis. So don't it doesn't matter whether your remedy covers that appendicitis or not, but it matters that this is the remedy of the patient or not. Then if you get right remedy, finish that will do your work. So this is what he wants to explain, that you should not go with the diagnostic totality, but the totality which will be useful to find it out a right remedy. The purpose of homeopathic examination is to bring out the symptoms of the patient in such a way as to permit their comparison with the symptoms of the mater medica for the purpose of selecting similar or homeopathic remedy. So this is the purpose. For what purpose you are taking into consideration the totality? To find it out as a minimum from the materia medica. Without symptomatology, it is rather difficult to find it out a remedy. With symptoms, it becomes an easy task. But what type of symptoms? The symptoms should be subjective, symptoms should be characteristic, or symptoms should be complete enough so that they will define and individualize the case. And those are very important. That's why all this sentence he has written in italics. Every disease has its symptomatic likeness to the mater medica. The homeopathic mater medica is like a rogues gallery in which are hung up the portraits of all pathological rogues in the world. When you catch a rogue, compare his features and portrait with portraits, then make him take his medicine. So this is very important. We have ample remedies in our mater medica. That is big thing. Nowadays there are more than 3,000 remedies which are in the homeopathic mater medica. Second important thing, whatever patient's complaints are there, whatever the name of the disease is there, forget about the name of the disease, what the patient presents. Match his totality with the antitype totality from the patient, from the mater medica. There are all varieties of medicines which are present in our homeopathy, which are proved on healthy human being, and we have ready-made totality. Only thing is that you have to match the totality of the patient, with the totality of the remedy. If you are able to grab a right totality, and if you are able to match that right totality with the totality of the mater medica, your work is done. This is simple. This is too important. Only thing is that to know the disease, you must know the diagnosis so that you can explain to the patient what may be the possible prognosis. Like all rogue catchers, when on duty, our senses must all be alert, our minds clear, our logical faculties acute, our sympathies and prejudices held in abeyance. When all the facts are before us, we may sympathize, correct, reassure, and encourage as far as seems judicious and wise. So this is too important. You have to look towards only one thing. What is patient's presentation? What is patient's totality? How he reflects his totality, which will guide you to find it out a right remedy. If you're going to get all those things, then it becomes rather simple to catch a right remedy. So just find it out, the totality of the symptoms, instead of labeling his disease with a certain name and finding it out, remedy for that specific disorder. you will fail. The success will not be there if you go with that method. But if you go with a right method, with a right totality, then definitely you're going to get a right remedy. And these methods he is mentioning, and he explains over there, these are the things on the basis of which you get a clear totality. And that's why during an examination of the patient, you must know what you are looking for. So I think it's better to stop over here, and tomorrow we'll continue with next paragraph. But whatever he is explaining over here is having very perfect idea about the gastric. Very clear cut manifestations about the totality and what one should look for. All this he has mentioned over there. So that's all for today. Today evening we'll meet at 8 o'clock with new remedy. A remedy for from third year syllabus. So camphor is the remedy for today's evening. We'll meet again at 8 o'clock and tomorrow with the philosophy session. Thank you. Thanks a lot for attending.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. I have one question. Nowadays, due to hormonal issues, many dietitians suggest that don't take milk.
Correct.
Instead of that, you can take curd. Then, sir, how curd is safer than milk? It is prepared from that milk only.
Okay. My suggestion is that even not to take the curd also, but curd whenever it's prepared, there are certain methods which are followed over there. In Marathi, we called it as a sanskar केले जातात दुधावर, and that has changed its qualities. The same qualities never remains in the curd as that of quality of a milk. And that's why some dietitians advises utilizing the curd. But generally, I never advise to take the curd also. Only thing is that during this summer season, uh, maybe for the purpose of just remaining little bit cold, this is good for the health if you take it in the lunch.
Okay, sir. And one more question. Sir, every time we take homeopathic globules, is there insulin secretion when
No.
we take globules?
We are using lactose sugar, not the glucose. It is lactose. Globules are lactose.
Okay. That means in diabetic patient, we can repeat dose more frequently. Okay. Okay. Thank
There
you,
is
sir.
one question by Mr. Gopalan. Whenever he experiences pain in appendix, he goes to the corner of the room. If this symptom taken into account, if it is marked in the case, you should definitely. If every time it is the symptom, it has a significance. The reason might be anything, but if it is present, you have to go and find it out a remedy for you according to it. Yes, that's all for today. We'll meet tomorrow again and today evening at 8 o'clock. Good evening.